Today on the Topping Show, Bud Light releases a ridiculous ad on Twitter and fails epically. NHL to cancel Pride jerseys next year. Hunter Biden gets a plea deal with no jail time. You have the U.S. Navy knowing that the submarine was sunk days before actually telling the public. Disney fires their chief diversity officer. Target pushing for next day delivery. SpaceX now valued at $150 billion. Mazda going to bring back the rotary engine. Ford is prepping for major layoffs, and Honda recalls over 1 million vehicles. All that and much more on The Topping Show. Thank you for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of Topping Show is sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder released twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, need a little assistance, you can reach the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Now, going on to the political part of the podcast, you have Hunter Biden having a tentative plea deal for guilty with no jail time, which is unprecedented. He has to be the luckiest son of a bitch on the planet. He's also a millionaire, somehow. And I say that because of some of these allegations. Now, he has 2 counts of failure to pay income tax, and he owes $1.2 million. How a crackhead is making so much money is beyond me. I can't fathom how do you think he's making money? Now, if he owes $1.2 million to the IRS, that means he's probably making about double that, since federal income tax, once you reach a certain tax bracket, they take about 50% of your income. Which means he's a multimillionaire. I don't even know if he has a day job. So that's interesting. Now, the other charge was a firearm offense, which is so ironic given how anti-gun his dad is, where they want to ban guns because they're black. They want to get rid of the AR-15, which is mechanically the same thing that we've had over 100 years. It's semi-automatic. 1 trigger pull, 1 bullet. 100 years. But now we gotta get rid of it. Now, when it comes to the firearm offense, he has 1 count of an unlawful possession of a firearm by a person who is an unlawful user of an addicted or a controlled substance. Now, I'm trying to think of a way of saying moronic. Stupid is too simple of a word. Dumbo. Oh, there's always a good word. I should really download a thesaurus one of these days. He's so uneducated. No, he probably went to a good school. He's so out of touch with reality. He thinks he's so untouchable, which I guess he kind of is. He actually wrote an autobiography in which he admitted to using crack while purchasing a firearm. Now, lying on a 4473, I don't know why they called it 4471, unless they changed the form number. Nevertheless, it's like a job application to buy a gun. You fill out all your information. You say you are not a criminal. You're not an illegal alien. You're not using or abusing any illicit substances. So you lied on that form. Doing that would get most people thrown in jail. And I'm not being hyperbolic. That's the standard. The standard case is you get thrown in jail for that. You're lying on a federal document. And yet, he's going to get off scot-free. He also had his girlfriend, or he didn't tell her to, but his girlfriend threw the gun away in a trash bin across the street from a school. Now, the Secret Service went into the gun store after he did the paperwork, and allegedly, they tried to get the paperwork back. I suspect because the Secret Service knew he was breaking the law with that paperwork, and they want a paper trail. Interestingly enough, later, the Secret Service had no record of going into that gun store or doing anything of that way. The gun owner remembered differently, and thankfully at the time he didn't acquiesce and give away the federal paperwork to the Secret Service at the time. He later handed it over to the government when they were looking for evidence, and I'm sure he kept copies, thankfully. So, instead of having any real-world ramifications, Biden is going to get a diversion program, which is as BS as it is exactly what you think it is. It's a BS slap on the wrist. It's basically soft probation instead of a jail. And at the end, his record is expunged, or it's basically wiped clean. So he broke laws that would get people thrown in jail for years. And basically gets off scot-free. He was actually wining and dining with the DOJ. I believe it was Merrick Garland at a party days before. Same with Biden's brother, who was also under investigation. They were at a party with a guy who's supposed to be investigating them. Does that, in any way, in any way sound fair, equal, or irrational? I can't fathom the Trump family trying to get away with a tenth of this. Now, clearly the Department of Justice is taking it easy on him, hitting him with some minor infractions, maybe, and again, this is a pessimist in me, in order to avoid diving deeper into his more damning crimes, such as the Ukraine gas company Burisma giving him, I believe, $75,000 a month to be on the board of directors, a gas company in the Ukraine, where, again, Hunter Biden's background is drugs, and I don't know how that equates, why he should be on a board director for a gas company. Now, granted, perhaps the best return on investment in history was paying him about $75,000 a month for, I think it's 14 months. And now the U.S. government has given Ukraine about $115 billion. That's the best ROI in history, as far as I could possibly comprehend or tell. And it's just, what little faith people had in the government is wiping away to basically nothing. I mean, I can't comprehend seeing this and thinking that justice was served or he was treated equal as the average person would be. Because again, the average person, if they have a piece of plastic known as a AR-15 pistol brace, which they purchased legally, the ATF decided to write their own law, which they're not supposed to do. They're not legally supposed to do. That's what the government is for. But they decided to reinterpret the law. If you have that and you did not register the gun as a short-barreled rifle, you'll be thrown in prison for 10 years and face a fine of $250,000. If you have a piece of plastic that looks like a stock. $250,000 and 10 years in prison. That's what the average American would get. That's what they will get. They also become a felon. They cannot vote ever again. And yet Hunter Biden doing much worse things, lying on a federal document, that 4473, and basically no ramifications. When again, the average person would be thrown in jail. And more and more, I think people are starting to see the difference between people who are politically connected and people who are not. Time shall tell to see. Maybe people vote third party. I don't know what happens at this point or not. It'll be interesting to see. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Cannot thank you enough. I really appreciate it if you take the time to like, subscribe, and comment. Each one of those things greatly helps out the channel. Also, don't forget to tell your family, tell your coworkers, tell your enemies, heck, tell your friends, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.